Hey, what's up, guys? This is a quick bonus tutorial covering the plant shading we did last tutorial, but we're going to quickly go over doing the same thing in Maya just because some people requested that. Not everybody's a Houdini user, and but the shading, layout, and settings and all that stuff are basically the same. It's just certain things in Houdini are a little different than they are in Maya, and so we're going to shade the same exact tree, the rainbow gum tree we got right here. And yeah, so let's get that going. We already have a couple other assets shaded, same trees from the Houdini scene. I'm just redoing them in Maya just because I like to have these saved out in case I need to make an environment or something in Maya instead of Houdini. And it's always good to have these just proxy ready assets. And right now, the reason why you have to do this in Maya and Houdini or whatever app you're using is because currently Redshift shaders are not shared across all the applications. And this is a concern that with the Redshift devs, and they're going to look into unifying the shader system eventually. Who knows when that'll happen? Maybe a year from now. It's hard to tell. So until then, you kind of got to do it this way and manually shade in whatever app you're going to keep your proxies in. And so okay, so anyways, let's shade this up. So we got the leaf. So again, I've got my folder here on my NAS network with the assets already ready to go. And so first thing we're going to do is the leaves. So we got the red gum leaf right here, and let's just drag and drop that in, move that out, and let's leave that out of the way. And so cool, we got the leaf in. Right now it came in as a linear file. This is a JPEG, so let's swap that over to sRGB first. Let's make a material, so Redshift material. Let's also make a sprite since we need this for the leaves, and let's hook up the sprite. And so let's give this, and let's hook up the file texture to the diffuse, and let's give this a proper name. So this is rainbow gum leaf 1. And actually let's copy that, paste it in, and type in sprite for this. Okay. So cool. Now what we could do is go back here, and we've got the asset location. Let's copy, go to the sprite, paste, and since this will just quickly take our file menu, so we are already in the right folder structure as where we had it, and we're going to be looking for the alpha, so red gum leaf alpha. So let's look for that, and leaf alpha. So there we go. Cool. So that should give us the alpha cutout, and we have it set to intensity, not alpha, because there's no alpha channel. It's actually just the intensity of the JPEG. And let's actually hide everything, and let's select our leaves and assign. So just right click, assign material to viewport selection, and let's zoom in here so we can get a good view, and let's start the IPR so we can start tweaking the leaf assets. And okay, cool. So we've got these leaves. Let's see where the sun direction's coming from. So over here. Let's get up close. So right now there's no translucency in the leaves. The leaves are completely opaque. So first thing to do to change that is you open up the backlighting translucency slot. Let's just drag and drop that in there for now, and turn this on to 0.333. As It's usually a good starting point. And so now we got translucency. You can see the shadows and stuff through the leaves. So that's a good starting point. Now we also want to make the underside of these leaves a different color. So for that we'll need a ray switch. So redshift ray switch. Let's drop that down. Let's delete that. We also need a color correct. And it's just redshift color. Oh, redshift color. What the? Color. Oh, there it is. Color correction. Okay. And so let's pipe that in into the input. Let's then pipe this, turn on camera, enable front and back. And we're going to drop the front color into there, and then we're going to drop the back color into the back, which is the color composited one. And now we're going to plug this in to diffuse. And it's fine just leaving it connected for the backlighting, since it's the same thing. We're not editing the front side. And so now if we change the hue, we should see it change. So let's just move the hue somewhere. So yeah, now we've got purple or whatever on the underside. So let's move around the slider. Let's see, a little bit of yellow maybe would be kind of cool, and lower the saturation a little bit. That looks good. Let's actually bring in the what is this? The branches rainbow. Yeah, let's bring in the actual tree. That way we could get a better sense of the light blocking and stuff. Right now the tree doesn't have any shader on it, so that's why it's just rendering black. But that's fine. We don't need that. We just need it for just to kind of get the idea of the view going. And so okay, cool. Right now, looking at our leaf, it's way too reflective. So it's super shiny. So let's actually fix that. Move these out of the way. And go back to our redshift material. Always add a little bit of diffuse roughness. This gives things like a little bit of a chalky kind of feel. And everything in real life has a little bit of like dust or something on it. It's not like in a vacuum, unless you're in space. But I mean for these purposes. So 0.2 is a good starting point. I like to throw in there, and you're not going to notice it. It's really subtle until we get rid of the regular reflection. So right now we have a weight of 1 and 0 roughness, so it's way too glassy. So let's crank this up to 0.5 and see what we get. 0.4. See 0.6. Let's turn on GGX and let's drop the weight down to 0.8 a little. Okay, let's zoom out now. And these leaves need to have a normal on them. So right now there's no variation on the surface. It's just super smooth. So we'll be adding that right now. So before we keep tweaking this, let's throw the normal in there just to kind of get an idea of what it's looking like. So let's move this out of the way. Let's type in tab normal, redshift normal map as a texture, and let's move the RS material over here. Let's load up the normal. So if we hit enter. Oh, okay. Let's so we're gonna have to manually go through and find it, or actually, well, yeah, we're gonna have to manually come in and probably actually just faster to do this. Just drag and drop it in, and then just copy and paste. Actually, yeah, I should have done this. This is faster. And now we just paste it in here. Delete that. And from here, we're going to take the output and we're going to drag it into the bump input. And that should start giving us a little bit of bump. So let's zoom in right here. And yeah, it's really subtle right now. The strength is down. We need to flip the Y, just like we did in Houdini. So as you can see, when you flip the Y, you see the bending in different locations. So let's actually check another leaf. Let's try one of these. Let's just see. Flipping the Y. Let's increase the bump, or the normal, I should say. Let's just try something strong. 3, 5, 10. And this will help us just kind of see what's going on. Let's try 5. And let's rotate the camera around. So let's find a different angle. From an angle that we could get some good sunlight on it. So let's try this. Zoom out a little bit. Okay, cool. Let's crop in here. Let's refresh the IPR just in case it didn't pick up the node difference. And let's click normal. Let's uncheck, flip normal. Check it back on. And so it looks like we don't want it flipped, actually. It looks like, judging from the way it's highlighting, we want this to be a little tube shaped, and if we actually flip it on, it's inverting it, so it's dipping into the leaf, and that's not actually what that thing does. So this looks good. Let's check out let's move this to the side a little more. See what it looks like from a distance. And they look okay. Let's zoom in a little more. Okay, cool. Let's actually get the bark in now, because without the bark, it's kind of hard to, now the black's a little distracting. So let's pause the IPR and let's get a new material down. So type in redshift material. Let's delete that. Oh, actually, no, we do need this. And let's type in, or let's just copy paste this. Paste it in here and label this the bark. Let's look for our bark texture. It's right here. Let's drop that down. Once again, make sure this is sRGB, not linear, because it's a JPEG, and not a 32-bit float format like EXR. Let's what do we got in here? We got this normal. Oh, and I have a specular map too for the leaf, so actually I should probably add that in. But let's first do the bark. So let's get the normal in here. Let's just copy this again. Delete. Type in normal. Redshift normal map. Move this to the side. Paste that in. Drop that into bump. Drop this into diffuse. Let's really you try 0.3, because bark is, it's a rough material. It's not, it doesn't have any glossiness really. So we could try like 0.8. 0.8. I mean, you could probably completely turn it off and just save yourself render time. But yeah, let's see how this looks. Let's assign it. Right click, assign to material to viewport, object, and branches. Let's make that while we're at it. So let's drop in our branches. There's 2 branches, is there? Branches 2. Zoom in here. Yeah, so there's branches 2 and branches 10. So branches 10. Let's do branches 2 first. So bring that in. Once again, we'll go with sRGB. We'll type in material, another redshift material. We'll type in sprite. Let's get rid of that. Let's connect that in there. Connect that in there. Let's copy that. Paste it in there. Load up the file. Look for branches 2 alpha. Plug this into diffuse. The branches are made out of wood, obviously, so let's go with 0.3. And let's just turn it off. We're not gonna notice reflection on something like this. And let's give this a name. So let's move back up, copy paste, rainbow, gum, branch, branches 2, and let's copy, paste, sprite, and let's select branches 2, unhide it, and let's assign it. And since branches 10 is basically the same thing except different files, we'll just copy this, paste it, and we got an error. Where did it? Should have pasted it. Let's see if it's on the list. Here it is. So let's drop it down into the hypershade, and let's graph this out. And so here it is, pasted. Let's rename this. So this is branches 10. Delete all that. Delete the pasted. And let's change the number to 10 here. And for some reason it didn't update, but that's fine. Next time we open it up or change menus, it'll update. And so here's branches 10. Load that up. Make sure that's sRGB. Load up branches 10 alpha. And there's actually a normal map that comes with this, so let's type in normal. Drop that down. And faster to just do this. Branches 10 normal. Copy. Delete. Paste. Bump. And we had something like 5 last time, so let's keep that at 5. And let's assign this to branches 10. What's going on? Oh, wrong one. Let's wait. Branches 10. There we go. Okay, yeah, I was trying to assign the RS material, not the sprite. Okay, cool. So let's go back to branches 2, or actually we didn't do the cap. So let's do cap real quick. And cap. Here we go. Let's drop that in. Another material. Delete. diffuse color, 0.3. Let's just turn off reflection completely. Plug that in. Rainbow gum cap. And we have a normal. So let's bring that in. Copy the location. Delete that. Type in normal. Bring in the redshift dedicated normal. Paste that in. Let's have a 5 for normal strength. Put it into the bump input. And let's assign this to rainbow cap. And cool, let's bring out all these shaders and graph them out. And so now we have access to all of them. And that way we can manually start tweaking these. Let's throw this into a 5 and see what happens. The leaves actually have a specular roughness, so let me bring that in. Here we go. Or actually a specular map, not a specular roughness, I should say. And so let's drag that into the color slot. Oh wait, this is branches. Oops. Move that up to, where's leaves? There we go. Leaf way up here. And let's move this down out of the way. And let's drop this into specular reflection color. And we might actually have to tweak the contrast and stuff like that, or remap it, but we'll see. And let's oh wait, and let's actually, this is an sRGB file. Make sure, forgot to do that. Check everything again, and let's just try an IPR, see how it looks so far. And okay, it's a little dark, so I'm guessing the something's going on with the bark. So let's find that out. Where's the rainbow gum, rainbow branches, and actually I think this also has a normal branches too. So let's bring that in. Branches to normal. Yep, there it is. So let's copy this, delete that, type in normal, paste it in here, drop it into the bump input. Let's make that a 5. And let's find the bark, sRGB. Huh, it's really, really dark. Which is not what I expected. Let's see here. If I unplug this, it's black. And it's not due to the lighting. The bark is just really, really dark right now. I think actually in the Houdini file I also had to color correct the bark, but just to make sure it's not doing some sort of weird effect on it. Color balance, nope. Just seems like the bark's a little dark. So let's do a color correct. And let's plug that into the input, plug in the output, and now that we've got that, let's try the gamma first, see what we get. seems like it's color correcting it to the wrong color space, which is weird. But yeah, it seems like it's almost trying to read it as a linear file, which isn't right. Let's actually go in here and see if the leaves, the twigs look okay. They look okay. Might be the normal, actually. The normal on the bark might be way too strong, and so it's making it look weird. So let's actually drop this down to 1. Let's try 2. And there's that little nodule that we saw. So if we flip it, yeah, so now it's inverted. So we don't want that. So we want it correctly like this. And that's way too strong, so let's try 2, 3. And let's color correct this. So let's bring this back to sRGB. And let's just brighten it. So let's zoom out a little. And let's go back to base contrast on that. Let's zoom in. Let's work our way around. Where's the shadow? Oh, whoa, that's weird. The trunk is not dropping a shadow. So let's refresh that. It seems like something got messed up with the bark group. So let's actually hide all this. There we go. Something weird was going on. I don't know. You sometimes when some weird stuff like this happens, you just gotta hide it and unhide it. Sometimes Redshift doesn't update some of the changes. I mean, it's rare, but this does, happen. So actually, let's unplug this and just plug it in directly. Yeah, there we go. So this is the color's accurate now. Yeah, that was weird. And seems like the leaves are also dark now. So let's find the leaf shader. Let's get rid of the color correct. And the leaf shader's up here. So sRGB, sRGB. It's the bottom. Let's hide them, unhide them. So maybe this is just the shader acting weird. Let's actually just plug it in directly and see what happens. Okay, that's odd. They were looking right earlier. And so let's see. Increase that. So that's a pure white. Let's no, yeah, that shouldn't be doing that. Let's try this. Let's plug this into diffuse. And let's plug this in to the color. And let's move around. Yeah, the leaves seem way too dark. Let's see here. Let's just pause that. Let's try an actual render. Maybe something got messed up. Oh, nope. Looks fine. Okay. Let's just fire up the IPR, and I guess we got to color correct these leaves. Or let's turn on linear. Let's turn on sRGB again. It seems like it's got to do with the way it's processing the input. Let's reload. Let's zoom in. Is it due to the specular map that's doing something weird? Nope, it's not the specular. Let's plug that back in. Is it the normal map that's doing this? Let's try normal 1. Nope. Huh. Roughness, weight 1. Reflection. Refraction's not on. This is from intensity. Let's try just reassigning this. And nope, just maybe it's just the leaves being weird. Let's go underneath. There's a shadow. Yeah, it appears to be just the leaf color. So let's go to the color correct and let's reduce that to 0. Let's bring the saturation back up. The twigs also look way too dark. Something weird going on with those. So let's go to linear, sRGB. Might be just the normal maps are really strong. Reload. Yeah, something about this sometimes happens. I think what's going on is the live connection to my network. The files are kind of not loading properly. Depends on your network speed, and sometimes this happens. So let's hit reload. And yeah, as you can see, it fixed that. Yeah, that's what's going on. Okay. This probably won't happen to you guys if you don't have a network with all your assets on them, but I do, so this sometimes is an issue. Where the cache that's generated messes up and it gets stuck in the wrong color space. So okay, cool. Let's go back to the leaves now. And let's reload these. There we go. Yeah, see how it was on linear and it looked right, not right, but it looked different. And then I switched it over, and for some reason it keeps trying to read it as a linear file. Hitting reload, I think it's a color space issue that's going on. It's just some sort of bug. Because yeah, it looks all washed out now. It shouldn't be doing that. So it might be that the OCIO color space is messed up. So let's go to preferences. And let's just disable that. So now color management's all weird. Let's enable that again. Let's save. Let's go to sRGB, and now it should, hopefully, look okay. Guess the color space transforms are just acting up. If I just go back to regular. And I did get an error when I first opened this scene. So it might be that. Because, yeah, linear space is looking right, but it's not supposed to be that way. As a matter of fact. And I did just update to the new Redshift, so I'm not sure if they changed some of the color management or anything like that. But let's just disable OCIO. Two missing color spaces used for the scene that are not defined in the selected transform collection. Proceed. And let's take everything back to just sRGB. And it looks like, no, it looks, something's not right. Huh. Weird. Really weird. I guess it is right, but it's just base contrast, yeah. It's just for some reason trying to read in as linear space instead of sRGB space, which is really weird. Thinking maybe the assets were saved out in some strange format that's acting up, because it should not be this dark. So let me actually hide this and unhide another tree I got laying around. See how this looks, because I think something acted up. So I want to make sure it didn't do it. It didn't do it to everything. This is a pretty heavy tree asset, so let's reload the IPR. No, yeah, this looks fine. Let's go underneath, see how everything looks. Yeah, no, these look totally normal. Okay, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's something about the rainbow gum tree. I think the leaves aren't reading in right for some reason. Oh wait, now now it's reading fine, and the bark isn't though. What? Okay, that's weird, man. Really weird. Leaves look fine now, bark doesn't. Super strange. Maybe it's the tree model itself, and that's actually completely possible. So sRGB, where's the bark? Reload. Yeah, it's like the tree's not, the model for the tree isn't working right. So in this situation, let's try something. Yeah, that looks fine. And let's head to our folder with all the stuff, and let's actually import this in again. I have a feeling something went wrong. So let's actually pause the IPR. We've already got the shaders made, so we should just be able to just delete this, bring it back in. Let's do that. Wait a second. And now we should have the necessary stuff to get this going. So these are these are the shader groups. So okay, it brought in a whole bunch of stuff. Duplicates actually. So let's get rid of the duplicate shader groups. Let's delete these. Delete this. Delete this. Delete that. Delete that. Delete all of this. That's that shader group. Let's move this out of the way. I think something went wrong with one of the shader groups, bugged out, and you know, things happen. So let's get these, this, delete all this, bring this shader group down, and we've got this shader group. Let's move that, move that, move that, move that, move that. Delete these. Let's move this out of the way. And I think that's, yeah, the last of them. So yeah, here's the leaf shader group. So let's move this, 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 and this. Move these out of the way. Move these here. Let's delete these. And that should be it. Okay, cool. So we've got the leaf. Let's see what happens as soon as I wire it into here. And the branches, so let's see. Branches 1. Let's grab these. So this is the cap. So let's look for cap right here. So let's wire that into this. Let's move these up. And this is bark. So let's wire this into bark. And this is branches 2, and there's branches 10. So then move these over here. This is branches 2. And branches 1 or 10 is up here. So let's wire that up. And now let's see if this fixed it. Things happen, you know, like I said. That's why you guys are watching me do it as I figure it out. Yeah, now everything's all good. So yeah, something bugged out with Maya and Redshift, and the way it was reading the shader group for the trees and stuff, and I don't know what was going on, but it messed things up. So let's get rid of this shader group now. Let's get rid of this one. Let's get rid of this one. That way we could clean up and get rid of the older ones we don't need. And this one. Okay. And right now, looking at this, it looks like these branches, something's going on with them. And so, just to make sure, sRGB. sRGB. Sprite's fine. Well, oh no, yeah, they look dark. Like something's going on with the branches. I mean, they work and then they don't work. So let's see, which branches are those actually causing the problem? And let's actually group these together. Tree. Oh. And let's slide this up. We had it somewhere up here. And let's find out which of those branches are actually the ones. Looks like it's those ones. They all look kind of weird. Like something ain't right. So let's just try going to linear. And once again, it's it's the same bug. But I think in linear they're fine. So we don't have to deal with it doing this all over again. And let's reload. Alright. Let's zoom out. Cool. Let's shrink this down. It's way too big. And looks okay. And keep in mind, you don't want like super the lighting we're in is very neutral, so we actually don't want like crazy saturated colors. Like as you can see, everything in the background in the HDR is super neutral. This is how we want this because it's gonna, once we throw this into other lighting setups, it's gonna work. It's gonna look good. And let's zoom in here. Yeah, everything looks cool. Let's do a quick little final render, test render, just to make sure. And yeah, everything looks fine. Little branches are cool. Contrast looks good. Let's try a different angle. Let's try this. Let's actually save what we got so far. And let's check it out. Yeah, looks good. The only thing now, actually, since I forgot I disabled the underbelly color change. Let's actually bring that back while I was trying to figure out what was wrong. So where's the leaf? Color correct. Let's shift the hue a little into the yellow, little desaturated, and that'll give us a little more variation on the undersides. So let's yeah, this looks better. That little bit of variation using the ray switch and the color correct to make the bottom leaves a different color. And let's pause the IPR just to test out things. Let's load up another HDR. So actually, it's where is it at? Multi-render test, source images, and let's try a different HDR. This is just for testing purposes. So airport is the one we're using, but let's try this one just to see how things look. So it's like a sunny, bright beach kind of a day. And yeah, I mean, you could already tell just by changing the HDR. Look at that. Color's looking good against the sun. Nice contrast. We've got nice translucency. If we check out the tree from the front, I mean, yeah, it's looking good. Check it out from a distance, since these trees are going to be what we're working with from a distance. And yeah, the tree's looking solid. Let's do a render. And so that's why you want to work on assets that you're going to move around to different scenes that are going to be proxies, basically. You want to work on them. Yeah, this looks good. You want to work on them in neutral lighting. You don't want to work on it in a sunny HDR like the one I have right now. And the reason is you're going to basically, the color of the light is actually going to ruin the influence your render way too much. And so let's try 5,000. That's typical. 5,000 to 5,500 is typical sunlight temperature. And so since now we got a sunny temperature or light, I changed it to match. And I mean, yeah, look at this. This looks good. This looks good. You know, this is nice to basically have a proxy ready to go. And so, but let's go back to 5,500, which is typically overcast kind of daylight, and let's change our HDR back to our beach HDR that we were using, just so that we can airport EXR. And yeah, this is just good lighting, like for building assets. It's neutral. It's not influencing the sun's not influencing the color with yellow or sunset or any of that stuff. So you could really actually see what the shader colors are. And that way, if they work here, they're going to work in any lighting, basically. The only way you could have a better setup is if you actually had a real light probe with a real color checker from, you know, an overcast parking lot that you took. And that's, you know, how people do it in the film industry. But I don't actually have a light probe rig and all that stuff, so this is the next best thing, using a nice HDR. And so yeah, it looks like this tree's ready to go. So hopefully you Maya users, and even you Houdini or whatever app you're using, users got to check out this, how I built this, and see, comparing it to the background, it still looks pretty good. And hopefully you guys learn something a little new and learn how to troubleshoot your scenes, because things happen just like they did for me right now, but we got around to fixing it by just re-importing the asset and applying our shaders again. And yeah, this is the bonus video for everybody. It's an hour long, and hopefully it covers any of the questions that you guys might have had if you're a Maya user after watching the Houdini tutorial. And we're going to eventually be scattering, like I said, all these assets. So we're going to be building our terrains next. Well, in Houdini, you could use World Machine if you guys know World Machine. And I'm just going to use Houdini so we could keep the app count as minimal as possible. And just because the new Houdini terrain tools are pretty sweet. And we'll eventually be looking at scattering all these things onto our terrains that we build. So we'll be using in Maya Mash. In Houdini, we'll make a custom scattering tool, and I'll kind of cover some of the methods to scatter with. And we'll do that to build our first little terrain scene. And eventually what we're going to do is we're going to be building some building assets that we're going to lay out, and we're going to try to build a cool environment. And you guys hopefully can make your own versions and have fun with the assets you guys build. All right, guys. Thanks.